This is the deck that we're using for Magmadar. You can replace the bandits with something like Griffin Rider. I do like that as well. You could also consider using different tanks other than the Stonehoof Tauren and the Fire Elemental. The main thing you don't want to use is like a high cost tank, so you wouldn't want to use like an Abomination, for example. The bread and butter is going to be the Execute and the Arcane Blast. The main strategy is to fight for the chest on your side and then take the tower on your side. Help your teammate do the same, help him take his tower. Defend the middle as needed. You're going to want to place your Pyromancer usually in the middle to help defend. Use spells on the boss and use spells to help your teammate as needed. Take chests with the bandits if you're using the bandits, and then mine gold as usual. This is my teammate's army. He doesn't really have anything that's really great at actually dealing damage to the boss. So this is a good example of what it's like when I have to do most of the damage to the boss myself. So immediately the first thing we're going to want to do is go for that chest. I'm on the right side this time. So a lot of times you're going to want to put your Stonehoof Tauren out there so he can charge and try to get it before they put any units out. That's kind of the ideal situation. So we get the chest, perfect. Later on we'll use the bandits to get the chest, but that first chest is usually contested. So you want to get it with Stonehoof Tauren if you can immediately. That way you're not stuck with an elemental fighting you for the chest and you don't get it anyway. So we pretty much got our tower. We put Thalnos in the middle. We're using our spells to help our teammate defend as well. You don't necessarily need to use Thalnos for this. Pretty much any leader will work. The leader is not important in my opinion. The main thing is you want to have your Execute and your Arcane Blast so that you can do damage to the boss. But on that note, you don't always need to use those spells on the boss. It's almost more important to help your teammate defend and take their tower, especially if your teammate's a low level. It becomes more and more important to take that tower on their side because the tower is going to help them defend. So here we're using spells on the boss, and we also kill the Pyromancer. And then we're going to use our spells to help the teammate take his tower. So now it's going to be easier for him to defend. And the real strategy for this boss is pretty simple. You just take the towers, defend, and then use your spells. So once you have the towers, it's pretty much, you're in a great spot. Because you should be able to do enough damage by yourself. These, like this skeleton party type thing, you want to watch out for. You can kill it with Pyromancer. You can use your spells, or you can do like I'm doing here, just use a tank unit. Sometimes the dogs, like on the left there, you could see that the dog was going towards the tower. That's one of the ways you can lose a tower. It's kind of unfortunate, but you just take it back when you can. The dog will go away. Here you can see I placed the Pyromancer really close to the middle. That allows the Pyromancer to shoot onto the left side if there's something on the left side, which is my teammate's side. So you always want to try to have units in position to help your teammate, because as the higher level player, you know, your teammate's probably going to need help at some point. And that's just one of the ways to help them out, is by having units down the middle. So typically I'll try to put units in the middle lane. If I don't have any clear objective of where I want to put my units, like there's nothing obvious that I need to defend against at the moment, the place you're going to want to put them is in the middle, because that's typically where the threats come. Like you can see here, there's an elemental in the middle. A lot of times they'll put the skeleton party thing in the middle. So we're just continuing to Arcane Blast, rotate through with our bandits to get the chest with the bandits for the extra gold. Pyromancer just goes down the middle, just in case something spawns. Keep placing your kobold out there to get some gold every once in a while. This is where the Arcane Blast is nice. It just completely takes out that threat on my teammate's side, which would have been really a lot harder to take care of with actual units, because my Pyromancer was out of range. He was in position to try to help out, but he wasn't close enough. So the Arcane Blast is just nice, and then we get the kill. So I pretty much, like I said, on that one, I did most of the damage myself. That's the key to this deck, is with the two spells you can do most of the damage yourself. So here we have another teammate. I'm not really sure the level of the Sun and Moon talent, whatever that one's called, because it doesn't tell you what level it is, but the rest of the levels are accurate. So we have another decently low-level teammate. Again, he doesn't have a whole lot that's going to help do damage to the boss. So it's kind of just me by myself dealing damage to the boss and then helping him with the towers. So, like I said before, the main thing for this is just having enough damage to kill the boss, and usually I don't have trouble at all killing the boss before overtime with this deck or a similar deck. So here we get contested on the chest, even though we had the Stone of Tauren. So we're going to try to put some extra units on this side just to make sure we get the chest. Not just for us, but for our teammate. Like, it's going to help our teammate make sure that they have enough gold to defend their side. That's almost more important than making sure we have enough gold, because we should be fine. So he's got the little hibernation talent on Malfurion, so Malfurion's just kind of chilling. Here we get some good damage on the boss, as well as killing the fire hammer. Anytime you can have that happen, it's really helpful, because you're getting extra value from your spells. Not only are you damaging the boss, but you're also killing some of the units that would be coming at you. So like the value you get from that is just fantastic. Like if that happens, that's perfect. So we missed out on the chest again with the bandits. This is one of the reasons I'm not a super fan of bandits. They're okay. I don't mind bandits. They're okay. But if for any reason you're not able to get the chest with the bandits, they kind of don't do anything, because that's their whole purpose, is to get the chest so you get extra gold. So if they're not able to do that, it's kind of a waste of a spot. Sure, they cycle through, but other than cycling through, they don't do anything if you can't get that chest. So that's why I used to run Griffin Rider, and Griffin Rider is perfectly fine. You could use any other cycle unit if you really wanted to. I feel like this deck is kind of flexible in that aspect, where as long as you have the spells to do damage to the boss, you can run whatever other support units you want to run. It's not set in stone. Like, you don't necessarily need Stone of Tauren. You don't necessarily need the Fire Elemental. You could run something else and still have this work. As long as you're able to defend, then, and have those spells to do damage, it doesn't really matter exactly what units you're using. Like, the exact units are not super important. Looks like they're gonna get the tower. Just kind of let it happen. I'll take the tower back. So here I'm kind of waiting for the skeletons to get closer, because my fire elemental has immolation aura. He also cleaves. So I want to place him right on top of them. That way he can immediately start killing them. Rather than having to walk towards them, he can just be right on top of them immediately. Yeah, it looks like one of the dogs got to the left side again. We're still trying to fight for the towers. Like I said, usually you have more than enough time. Like, I don't usually even get into overtime with this encounter. So if you have to take a step back, slow down, and not use your spells on the boss, that's perfectly fine, because typically, like I said, you're gonna have a lot more time than you need. So if you need to kind of calm down and start defending or focusing on towers rather than damaging the boss, that's perfectly fine, because it's typically not an issue. Really struggling to keep that tower apparently this this match. So the Arcane Blast just keeps the tower from building so that I can get it back a little bit easier. One thing to note with Arcane Blast, it's kind of exponential. Like, the first attack does a certain amount of damage for 1 cost. The second spell does twice as much damage for 2 cost. The third spell does twice as much damage compared to the second one. So the fourth one does twice as much damage as the third one. So you actually get the best value out of the 4 costs. You're getting the most damage per gold. But it can be sometimes hard to use that last one because the combo itself, it's a full 10 gold combo. So sometimes you have to defend or do other things before you get to use that 4 gold cost. But if you can, you really want to use it because you get the most value out of that 4 gold. So that it's the most worth it in terms of your gold spent versus what you're getting for damage. Typically, as well, the 1 and 2 gold cost Arcane Blast can't kill like a Pyromancer or a Fire Hammer. You usually need a 3 or 4 cost. So that's also something to keep in mind. But those are my kills. Hopefully you learned something. Feel free to give me a like.